So again, we are looking at the Epstein files today. We're going to be looking at the Epstein files. We're going to be seeing what's going on with them. We're going to be learning the truth. Okay, at the very least, we're going to see what's true, what's not true. You know, what's the conversation on nets and what's swirling about. So let's take a look at everything, and let's, without further ado, make sure we're good here. Go to scene, and yeah, okay, there we go. All right, so this is kind of what I've archived on Twitter X. This is kind of what I see so far. This is what I have been finding to be some of the more serious stuff. So, I mean, the Epstein files, what we know for sure is that, to me, this doesn't even seem like a blackmailing operation. This seems more like this is a bunch of politicians who willingly went on this island. They willingly joined along with this. They willingly wanted to be a part of this. So I find that extremely interesting, and ultimately, it's like, you know, what do we really expect out of our politicians other than this, though? Again, like, all of us are acting like we're so surprised, but really, we shouldn't be surprised. We knew all of this was coming. So, without further ado, let's look at some of these files. Okay, like, again, we have Howard Lutnick, who's been implicated. Donald Trump's been implicated. You know, we have Pam Bondi, who's really just focusing on the stock market, bragging about the $50,000 stock market and the Dow. Completely detached, right? And we're seeing a lot of these kind of clips. And so ultimately, what I find to be just remarkable is what we actually find in the files, right? So this is from Cynthia Reed to G Vacation. So Jeffrey Epstein Vacation. This is like the email he uses. And so when we look at this, we see Dr. Jarecki asked me to send you the following notes along with the statement. I'm thinking of writing a new book and I need a co-author. Again, we're just going to kind of look through these files just kind of as they pop up. There's so many files, right? It's like the best way to analyze anything like this, like to this large of a scale, is just take it piece by piece, one at a time. We kind of go by what's going in the algorithm right now, right? 186,900 people looked at this. There's no community notes, no fact checking, right? So we see that there's probably a lot of truth to this document. Again, the whole point of analyzing all of these documents is to actually find the truth, right? So what if I get caught were the keywords in this email? I find that to be extremely interesting. Trouble avoidance, computer security, telephone security, avoid signaling, check out what's legal, have a fall guy, avoid learning about illegal acts of others, give no advice that aids or abets. Don't hold stolen goods, save uses of private detectives, accomplice use in law, wife testimony, avoid trackable expenditure, don't use credit cards, pre-trouble protection. This is like how to get away with the crime, honestly. Safe house, meet a criminal lawyer, have a stash of cash ready. How much is enough? Then post-trouble shows disguises, plastic surgeons, documents generation, which is like birth certificates, driver's license, and then gathering evidence on veracity and character of victims and prosecution of witnesses. Again, this is all stuff that's being discussed in these emails, like to Jeffrey Epstein, right? Post-arrest rules about how long before a judge, right to a lawyer, negotiation with an interrogator, goals of the prosecutor, bail rights, strategy, ankle bracelet, and its avoidance. Don't trust interrogator. He thinks you're guilty. It's in his interest to get a conviction. That is all true. He will trick you without compunction. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is true, but the point is that, like, the deception, the lies, the ease of which the lies continued, right? Don't think you can be open, as it will not impress him. Trial rules. Goals of a judge, PR and jury. The right jail, local, state, and federal. Afraid in jail. Abuse, forced sets, claustrophobia. Extortion. Kinds of jails, prisons, demography, and goals of a jailer, special benefits, episodic freedom, conjugal rights, drug sets, special food, religious services, yada, yada. So they really go into basically, you know, how to build the perfect thing. A scary one is that after being caught, one of the tips is plastic surgery. How easy would it be for someone to be made to look like him? That was an interesting tweet to me. No girl in Dubai is safe tonight. This was another chilling email from Epstein to former DP World CEO Sultan bin Soleim. An insider view at how terrifying and disgusting these people really are. This is from the Epstein Files account on X. If you're listening, if you're not able to watch, the email says, thank you. They are a treasure. No girl in Dubai is safe tonight. Again, these are quotes from the Epstein Files. This is not my words, not my transcript. This is me reading the transcript from some of these emails that we're going through on Twitter X. Okay, so disturbing file. This comes from the War Horizon account with details and names of elites who tortured children. Yes, that is what we said. We need to be mature about the conversation, but these things did happen. Again, to anybody this is too sensitive of a subject, obviously, you do not have to watch this. Obviously, this is a lot. And, we have to be adult about it. We have to think about the victims when we read these. This is about finding the truth. This is not about just, airing out people's dirty laundry. That's not about hurting the victims. We're actually thinking about the victims when we're making this. When we're making these videos, when we're trying to figure out the truth and to determine the truth, we need to be able to find the evidence, find the facts, to, be able to have conversations on what's real, what's not real, right? So this is a confidential attorney's eyes-only email. Thank God my parents picked me up for being a Rockefeller. That plane Mr. Dana had me on was scary. Both he and Larry Summers are effing disgusting. Hope no relation to Tracy. I guess it's a royal thing. Gross. Andrew is like his brother in this way. Censored. Should not brag because that was yucky. Does this lady know you can't have dignity if you have been with him? I know I have none. Only Skittles, whatever that means. Then we go on to the next. It says, walk down to Madison Avenue to 71st Street. My mother has lost her effing mind. Even though Ghislaine said it was best to take me home because Mr. Black is so important for some reason over my health. There is going to be hell to pay. I ruined her trip, and I'm dramatic when that fat F bit me. We're going to try to keep it censored. We're going to try to keep it PG-13, even though obviously this is not going to be a PG-13 YouTube episode. This is unconventional. We're talking about things that maybe, we shouldn't be talking about, but we're doing it for the truth. We're doing it for what's right. So anyways, this continues with, who the F bites someone? Sick. No one is that important, and Leon can go F himself. I hate New York. Again, these are emails being written from the Epstein files. We're reading the Epstein files. If you're listening to this, it might sound gruesome. We are reading the Epstein files. So that's why it's going to sound things are going to sound pretty evil in this episode, but this is not me saying it. This is Epstein and his people saying it. They are always flights of horror, whether it's with Jeffrey, Miss Leonzes, Mr. Case, Mr. Snyder, Mr. Gregors, Mr. Cologne, or one being borrowed by a seemingly good federal worker and even rented. It's all horror, and nothing is as it seems. I'm so confused by everything, and people you expect to be good, like even old senators like George Mitchell, who you think would be good like a grandpa, are bad. Mr. Kimsey is deranged. The answer is C. Crazy. Explanation mark. It all is. Explanation mark. So that's just a little bit. Again, we're going to go through all of these files. These are just some of the more circulating posts that have been going through X, right? I like to focus on X because of the fact-checking pattern. Basically, we're seeing the biggest files that are being pushed out to the top of the algorithm. That doesn't mean any of this is true or false, but it does mean that a lot of these documents might have a little bit more, you might be able to trust these documents a little bit more. Again, anything on Twitter X has community notes versus like a Facebook fact checker where they're sitting behind a screen, basically blocking anything they don't want you to see. It's a little bit more safe. Again, doesn't mean that any of this is true or untrue, but we have to just, we have to go by what the biggest metrics are and where the evidence kind of points us. So this is a FedEx Express payment type detail. This is basically a receipt. So this is really showing exactly, what was going on, what was being purchased. This is Mark Landon, who is a physician and a professor. And ultimately, he was Ohio State's University head of gynecology. Quarterly payments of thousands of dollars were made to this man. Okay, when we go on, we continue to learn that the original accounts of Epstein and Maxwell appear to be Moken South and Khaki Bureau 10. But I'm still wondering who Ivy, and then it gave this other account, Achilles 55003617, is. Both of them follow her, and her name shows up in the files too. I'm getting the creeps by just reading these. I just got to say, I'm definitely getting the creeps. I don't know about you guys. What are you guys thinking? But to me, this is just super creepy, super evil. But let's just go on. Let's take a look at some of these. So these are just some of Jeffrey Epstein's Twitter. This is kind of the Twitter network that's been being discovered. God, This is supposedly Jeffrey Epstein's daughter. Again, a lot of this is going to be conspiracies. Again, we're going to be, seeing a lot of things that are not true. We're going to be seeing a lot of things that are true. I am just simply, as an analyst, going through these and we're looking through what possibly could be true. Okay, so we're not trying to determine, oh, this is true, this is fiction. Oh, we know that this is false. No, we're going through what we're seeing on X, the biggest posts that are going the most viral. So again, this female is supposedly supposed to be Epstein's known Epstein niece similarity, Epstein's daughter. So very strange. Ivy Nash. What do you guys think about that? You guys see any resemblance? I mean, I don't know about this, but who knows? We're just looking at everything we can, looking at all the things that are trending in the algorithms. Epstein files show that an email dated a week after the 9/11 attacks includes the phrase, "Where is the real pilot?" And that is a real email. That's a verified email. And this comes from the Russian news account. But actually in the Epstein files, we'll find this, and we'll find that a lot of these accusations against Epstein, yeah, it's coming out to be true, and that this organization he was working with was the obviously Israeli Mossad, was Israeli intelligence, CIA, all these factions, compartmentalized networks, organizations, special interest groups, donors, really targeting U.S. politicians. And here's the thing, in these Epstein files, look at this. These are not just Americans. These are powerful world rulers across the entire planet. And to me, it looks like these people are willing to go on this island. They're not saying, oh, Epstein, you can't do this. You're going to ruin my life. They're like willing to go on the island, right? If you guys follow the artist named Jess, he just made a whole video about this where basically he was saying the same thing. Like, we're noticing how, a lot of these people we're seeing in the files, look at this. I don't have to read it, do I? Do I have to read it for the transcript here? But I will read it for the transcript for people listening. It says, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." This was an email that was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to, what was this guy's name? CEO of DP World, Sultan Ahmad bin Soleim. And he's the CEO of DP World. Redacted individual in the email where it stated, "I love the torture video" in 2009. So what should happen now to these people? I love these questions. And if we look at the comments here, we have a lot of bigger accounts that are pretty recognized across Twitterettes, and they're saying the same things. We're reaching a pretty valid consensus. Again, we don't call for violence. We're not calling for violence on the stream. We're not doing anything like that. We are trying to just determine the truth. We're trying to figure out what some of these files mean. I had made a post about this. I posted breaking latest on the 2026 Epstein files dump. What's new and who's implicated? For me, this was just a 30,000-foot view. So on January 30th, 2026, the DOJ dropped over 3 million pages, totaling 3.5 million released, including 2,000 videos and 180,000 images from FBI probes, Maxwell trials, and more. This final batch exposes deeper trafficking networks, poses conviction to elite ties, and Russian/FSP honey traps / Russia mentioned over 10,000 times, Putin over 1,000. One thing that I definitely should have mentioned is that this is an Israeli op. I mean, this is the main, peanut butter and jelly, the main meat and potatoes, right? This is the real thing you're not supposed to say, that this was a Jewish operation to blackmail, but also, I mean, maybe to usurp, to defect. There's so many different things that were achieved from this entire operation. Nevertheless, it was a successful operation, right? So the new findings have found that, and again, they say that all these new files have been released. They haven't. They haven't released basically any new files. They've maybe unredacted some names. A lot of the names they're actually re-redacting, we've heard. And so, again, we have to just, really stay on top of it. I don't think this is something that the American people should let go. This is something that obviously needs to be addressed. There's just a certain level of corruption and a certain level of evil that the American people should tolerate. And, even Thomas Jefferson should ask, what should we do when we're placed under a tyranny? And how much tyranny should we tolerate from, our leaders? And Thomas Jefferson said, whatever you allow them. So ultimately, these were a lot of the names that were mentioned. Ultimately, these were the biggest names that were implicated in the files. Again, we know that Trump was in them, but we also have to question whether exactly what happened. We know that these files were hidden for a long time, and I'm not protecting anybody, but, we need to investigate all of these people is what I'm saying. Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew, Peter Mandelson, Tom Pritzker, Catherine Rumier, Larry Summers, George Mitchell, Harvey Weinstein, and then, of course, Howard Lutnick, of course, Donald Trump. Again, we got to know, why did Trump not come out with the files earlier? I don't understand the optics behind that. There has to be some reason. There has to be some kind of reason, right? So as we look through these files, we understand that Donald Trump and Elon Musk were also listed in the files, but it isn't clear as to whether or not they were truly involved beyond association. The files have been hidden for months. We can only assume that any real evidence has been destroyed. And I think that's very true, so many different agendas. We have a lot of journalists that are in there. And, it's like journalists are probably going to be in a lot of those kinds of files because they're going to be reporting on these things. They're going to be interviewing people. So, a lot of people have been getting really upset because Alex Jones was in the Epstein files. Well, ultimately, I guess we got to look deeper in that. But ultimately, again, we're going to see a lot of journalists and a lot of public figures who are highly mentioned, especially controversial people in those files, right? Elon Musk is not exactly a friend to these people. So again, when we look at some of the files, let's look at some more here. So these are just a couple files. Anything I say that's censored, I'll just say the word censored. Censored has an additional image showing part of Mike's face, this time visibly participating in abusing blank. Together, the two partial images of Mike's face may help identify him. Again, we're reading part of the Epstein files, things that were found inside of the Epstein files. Last year, in addition to sending blank images, blank stated that Mike told blank that her foster mother, Sheila, was going home to Israel and would take blank to blank to a nice family. And they did not believe that would be nice at all. While media stories stated that Epstein and Maxwell's victims were mostly teenagers, there's evidence that suggests they also abused younger girls. John Luke Brunel reportedly provided Epstein a birthday gift of 12-year-old triplets. So again, John Luke Brunel reportedly provided Epstein a birthday gift of 12-year-old triplets. Yes, that is what I said. This is from the Epstein files. Epstein victim blank stated in the Netflix documentary Who Killed Jeffrey Epstein, episode 2, that when she worked as a receptionist at the NYC mansion in about 1995, many little girls, were always going in and out. A phone message slip referred to Russian lessons from 2 to 8-year-olds, and blank in an expose from Australian television said that Epstein sought girls, the younger the better, end quote. This is again from the Epstein files. Blank images presumably could be shown to other Epstein/Maxwell victims to see if they remember her. It is our understanding that the Epstein NYC mansion blank was, and then it doesn't go on. And then it highlights, the photo shows a girl, her face visible, who looks prepubescent with medium-length dark hair. Several Caucasian men are holding the girl's legs spread open. Again, this is going to be graphic for listeners, watchers. Her vagina is visible and gashed, and there is blood coming out. In the photo's foreground, a man with a white shirt appears to be inserting his hand or something into... Yeah, I'm going to just refrain from reading further because, again, we are streaming on YouTube. You guys can all read the screenshots. Anything that's getting too graphic, we're going to have to kind of, lighten it down. But feel free to rewind. Feel free to pause. If you're listening to this, you should go to the YouTube episode that I'm making right now, which is going live. It'll be posted later. And you should go back and look at some of these files and actually read them. Read what's in there, right? We're seeing a bunch of hype tweets from everybody, but we're not reading what's really in the files. And that's important that we read them very, very closely. And we also need to get together some kind of timeline because I'm not seeing enough analysts put together a timeline. So this timeline needs to be developed. And I see Ian Carroll, by the way, a plug for Ian Carroll. He's building his web app. Everybody should go and follow that. Everybody should get figured out on how he's constantly dropping these new passwords on how to use it. Definitely implore everybody to use that. We're going to help get a timeline together for these entire files and everything we've been seeing. Okay, so going on here, this is from Eddie Aragon. And again, if anything gets a little graphic, then we're just going to kind of stop reading. So this is in the email from Eddie Aragon to, and it doesn't show who it is, confidential, Jeffrey Epstein. Edward, this is so sensitive, so it will be the first and last email depending on your discretion. You can choose to take it or trash it, but this comes from a person that has been there and seen it all as a former staff of the Zorro, and I'm guessing Zorro Ranch. The material below was taken from Jeffrey Epstein's home as my insurance in case of future litigation against Epstein. Sorry, no questions, in all caps. What is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know somewhere in the hills outside of Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madame G, maybe that's Maxwell, both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex. Again, this is in the Epstein files. Okay. And then it shows where you can find exactly these files again. And then it also mentions Bitcoin. Please arrange for 1 Bitcoin by 6 p.m. EDT today, Thursday, 11/22/2019 to the Bitcoin wallet address. End quote. This is from the Epstein files. This is not me saying this. This is me reading the files out loud. So anybody who's listening to this, this is what we're reading. We're reading the Epstein files. I have to keep repeating that. It's very important that we make known exactly what we are reading here. And as a former police officer, I find this, to be close to my heart. We need to investigate the truth and find these people. The people who are behind this, the politicians who are behind this. So, again, this comes from, redacted, subject, report number 123, Winter Olympics candidate weekend. Date was March 21st, Sunday, 2010 at 16:34 hours. And the attachments are image 00060 to 201-00225-1744. And then the email says, hey, kids, I think I totally missed that the Winter Olympics were going on. The curse of redacted. I still don't know if the Winter Olympics happened. This is the redacted has for the season. I was planted in the presidential suite overseeing food supply and watching 4 weddings and a funeral on a very small and old flat screen. If you ask me, the presidential suite was not very presidential. After 10 hours in the suite, I thought I was going to get cabin fever. None of us knew that 100 screaming kids would look... Whoa, here we go. None of us knew what 100 screaming kids would look like, but now we know. You have to think of multiple meanings when you hear these things now, right? You have to open your mind up to the multiple underlying meanings to these things. We almost lost a kid this time, coming back from the redacted late at night. A kid needed to do some personal business, and the bus stopped in the desert. The kid got out and went to a ditch. The bus took off. Luckily, a bus behind stopped. That would just not have looked good on the front page of the New York Times. The acceptance rate would not be 100% as it currently is. Attached pic, very typical for the blank. I hope you're all well. And that's the end of that email. And another one from HKH. What does that say? Crown Princessin to Jeffrey Epstein. You always make me smile because you tickle my brain, but I want the data from now or the bill is mine. Is it the cocktail of all the unnaturals that have a profound effect on the early stages of development in humans? Soon people won't be able to make new humans anymore. But I guess that would be La La Land great. We can just design them in a lab. Oh my gosh, these people are so evil. As I'm reading this, I have to also be careful of what I'm saying. So it goes on, tons, and they all lead to the same conclusion that natural protects even its vegetables. The most potent poisons are natural. Again, okay, we're not going to continue with this either because this is getting graphic. Again, feel free to hop into the YouTube live or watch the episode, and you can take screenshots of these. But we're getting too graphic now at a point to where we have to more so describe what we're seeing. So ultimately, we're a lot of weird things that we've just been seeing on X. A lot of strange things. Again, these were all in the Epstein files. This was just one thing that was seen. So, like, a lot of people were wondering exactly, like, was this human remains? Was there part? What exactly was in these boxes? It looks like a dead animal.
So that dog wanted.
What do you guys think is in here? What do you guys think these boxes are? What do you guys think all of this is? It's very strange. These people are weird. You know, these are the people who are running our government, and there needs to be consequences for this stuff, you know, especially when things start to get more and more proven. What's that say? What do you guys think that says? Interesting. Let's go on.
Little St. James. Two boxes. Epstein's.
As we're looking through these files again, what we're seeing is if there's anybody listening that's not able to watch this, we're watching somebody go through all of these files here, and they're seeing, you know, videos of boxes and very strange, suspicious items. One of these items appearing to have what could have been a possible dead animal in there, according to what I'm seeing here. So again, very strange. And I wanted to also look at this video because this guy's been really covering a lot of good stuff. He's actually been right on the money, and I think he's been on top of it with a lot of the Epstein files and making pretty good connections, pretty good analysis from this guy. His account is Contrarian.
He got herpes from kissing a black dude in jail. He was low T according to blood work. He couldn't get his dick hard, and he had an egg-shaped penis. He watched Five Nights at Freddy's, Rule 34, Freddy Fazbear, shared it with friends. He had a wall-sized portrait of child torture. He donated $190,000 to child trans surgery and trans research, including 2 doctors and 1 institute. He exchanged gore and torture videos on email, exchanged child abuse material of 9 and 10-year-olds. He imprisoned a woman on his New Mexico ranch and forced her to give birth, stealing the babies upon birth. He admitted to being a sex trafficker in an email recounting his story with a woman where her face goes pale upon learning who he is. He boarded CIA planes, entered CIA's sensitive compartment information facility. He must have had intelligence connections to do so. FBI confidential human sources say he was trained by Mossad. Multiple intel sources like Ari Ben Menashe claim he was trained by Mossad. He had over a dozen high-level connections in the Israeli government. He was friends with Isaac Herzog, the current president of Israel. Friends with Ehud Barak, Ehud Olmert, Shimon Peres, and Yoni Koren. Prime Minister.
Wow, that's wild. Look at this. So as we can see here, if you're just listening to this, Ehud Barak met with Jeffrey Epstein dozens of times, flew on private plane, according to reports. Former prime minister visited disgraced financier and child abuser about 30 times in 2013 to 2017, including 2014 private flights in Florida. Former PM Ehud Olmert mentioned as one of Jeffrey Epstein's associate in case documents. This is one of the first times that Olmert has been linked to Epstein. Other names mentioned in the documents include U.S. President Donald Trump and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Barak met with Epstein in the event of 2003 and has said the introduction was made by former President Shimon Peres. Barak maintained contact with Epstein after Epstein's 2008 conviction as part of a plea deal for soliciting a minor for prostitution. The agreement drew heavy criticism after it emerged that Epstein served just 13 months in jail and was registered as a sex offender under a deal reached without consulting the victims, in violation of victims' rights under the U.S. criminal law. Epstein's email correspondence also shows him to have extensive contact with senior Ehud Barak, aide and Israeli military intelligence Yoni Koren, who made, what does that say behind that? Can't read that. Says, at Epstein's New York residence and whose cancer treatment in 2012, the emails show Epstein appears to have paid for. Wow.
Of Israel and a Mossad agent. He claimed to represent the Rothschilds. He called you Goyim and said you work while he gets rich.
Yeah, that's true. He calls us Goyim. That's a one thing nobody's talking about. I've seen it on all the interviews. I love Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I've seen that too. She was just talking with Owen Schroyer, and I get it. I know a lot of these people are under a lot of danger talking about this. This is a big subject, but you need to speak the truth. And what was in the Epstein files is that this is a Jewish intelligence operation. And that's the facts, that this is Israeli intelligence. This is another foreign nation who basically exploited the fact that our own politicians, starting with Bill Clinton, was basically a really creepy, weird, evil guy. And basically corrupted other politicians because of that one guy, one person. And then then the rest of them went down like dominoes. Because that's what happens when you don't have a real morale in your country going on.
People are so irony poisoned that they don't take anything seriously, or they take a stance as a joke and then more information comes out and then their stance looks really bad. And so rather than admit they were wrong, they just keep defending it. Imagine that you're 9 years old. You like watching Cartoon Network. You like having Nerf gun battles with your friends. An adult strip you naked and take photographs of you. That's what we've seen in the emails. Then they make you give a man a massage. Well, that's what we've seen in court cases. A man pulls his penis out and makes you play with it.
Okay. God, I don't even know if this episode, I don't know if YouTube's going to keep this up. I feel like I can't. This is like so hard for people to, how do we cover this? Right? How do you cover something like this? How do you honestly cover something like this? You know, because this is so evil and at such a deep level of evil that it's like, how do we really actually cover this without getting banned and censored? Because like we have to talk about it, but at the same time, it's like some of this stuff is so graphic that like YouTube is going to just take it down. So, you know, I'm not going to like not talk about it, but we're going to have to kind of glaze over a few different subjects. So we're going to go back to it, but you know, it's just an important point to be made. We can't get mad at all of these different people for not exposing certain things, because certain things you literally like, it's so dark and so evil that talking about it is just extremely dangerous for everybody's life.
When George Bush and Al Gore ran for president, they had 3 debates. Nobody said, what are you going to do when the twin trade towers come down and the Pentagon's bombed? When the
He slipped up there. And I thought that was an interesting clip. Wanted to play that. Bill Clinton slips up here and says this.
When the twin trade towers come down and the Pentagon's bombed. When the twin trade towers come down and the Pentagon's bombed. And the Pentagon's bombed. And the Pentagon's bombed. And the Pentagon's bombed.
Look at this.
And the Pentagon's bombed.
This is Bill Clinton.
The Pentagon's bombed.
Totally slipped up. And then we see video footage of the Pentagon, and it looks like a missile strike going into the building. It does not look like an airplane at all. Pretty fast airplane. Pretty fast fighter jet, if that's what it was. I don't know about that, guys. I think we all know.
When George Bush and Al Gore ran for...
Again, this is a voice recording from the hijacked planes on 9/11. We're kind of connecting both of these, by the way. I wanted to connect 9/11 to the Epstein files dump here and talking about it because they all connect. The Epstein files revealed that 9/11 was an inside job. It was an Israeli job, kind of mixed with CIA, very much like the JFK operation.
The voice of the hijacker heard from the hijacked plane's voice recorder reveals that the accent of the hijacker matches an Israeli Hebrew accent.
The next transmission comes seconds later.
And what he's saying, if you're listening to this, if you're not able to watch this, what you're hearing is footage from the 9/11 actual planes, American 11. Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any moves, you'll endanger yourself in the airplane. Just stay quiet. This is what is being said in the transcript of the 9/11 recordings.
FBI
And according to the transcript, this was in Hebrew. So, crazy.
Director Mueller, BBC News, and ABC have confirmed that 7 of the 19 Muslims whose mugshots were flashed around the world did not die in the 911 crashes. They are alive and well and are victims of identity theft. An 8th accused Muslim died 1 year before the 911 hijackings even occurred. Who stole their identities, and why isn't the FBI looking for them? If the hijackers really were Muslims, why would they steal the identities of fellow Muslims and implicate them? Wouldn't they be more likely to steal Israeli identities and put the blame on Israelis?
Boom.
If the hijackers were Israelis, wouldn't they be likely to steal the identities of Muslims and put the blame on Muslims?
Weird questions. Questions that are necessary. Questions that are indeed important. All I know is, like, what are we going to do about it? What is the solution at the end of the day?
The voice of the hijacker heard from the hijacked plane's voice recorder revealed...
And again, according to, this is just a censored video, shows video censored from Epstein files, appears to show a young girl dancing in a dress and some highly inappropriate music. Shows that's from the Mario Nawfal account. He's been covering a lot of what's been in the Epstein files. He's been doing an excellent job as an analyst. Johnny Deaton wanted to point out some of his posts. He's been also covering the Epstein files, a lot of what's been going on. Matrix Bot, also another good account to really follow what's going on with some of these. But we already covered that tweet. Oh, this was interesting. How many people saw this? Steve Bannon, Traitor. If this is real, if these are real text messages, if these are not faked, if there's no intelligence out behind this one, this is traitorism. This is so treason. So ultimately, regardless, okay, Steve Bannon, whoa. Like, listen, let's get a load of this. So, I'm trying to zoom in on this. So Epstein and him were in conversations, okay? And basically, it shows Steve Bannon, and he's saying, I'm getting crushed for follow on interviews given my ABC hit tomorrow. Do we have any flexibility to leave Wednesday night or Thursday just in case? No change yet, but I see this building. Epstein says, let me see what I can move. Chat later. Steve Bannon says, certainly. Getting briefed by House Intel now on Instagram and Spygate. Keep in mind that this was interesting, by the way. This was 3:49. This is like a few minutes after Steve Bannon had said, certainly getting briefed by the House Intel now on Instagram and Spygate. Right after that, the response is, keep in mind that your memos on torture, in parentheses it says YOO, were set aside. Same can be done for no indicting a sitting president. Explanation mark. Yo memo. Whatever that means. Then Steve Bannon responds with three question marks. And then the next response is, to remove the prohibition on indicting a sitting president would be exactly the same as withdrawing the opinion on torture. There is precedent. And then Steve Bannon said, will pull. After that, the response was, near the end of the Bush administration, Bradbury signed 2 memoranda for the files, explaining that during his tenure, OLC had determined that certain legal propositions previously stated in 10 OLC opinions issued between 2001 and 2003 concerning executive power and the war on terror no longer reflected the views of the OLC. Rosenstein can do the same. So now we got names. We got even more names. Rosenstein. I remember Rosenstein testifying in Congress back in 2016, by the way. Should bring up that in the House Judiciary Committee. Putting the spell on him. Whoever this was, allegedly Epstein, putting the spell on him, and then it shows Steve Bannon here with his hands out in an interview, and then it says, LMAO, Pope is wrong on policy. Steve Bannon then says, ex cathedra that. The person who he was talking to, which again was allegedly Epstein, you're an honorary Jew anyways. This was highlighted in the screenshots. Now it no longer Judeo-Christian, just Judeo. This is, again, I'm reading the text messages between Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon then said, honored, I will drop the Christian and Christian Zionist. What? I will drop the Christian and Christian Zionist. Why? Why is that? Just for money? You want to call yourself a Jew just so you can have some money? Come on. You must admit, you look a little like the priest in The Exorcist, just missing the hat and Carl's green slime. That's a strange analogy, strange connection there. You get the optics, Steve Bannon says. Then, the person who he's talking to, Jeffrey Epstein, or allegedly Epstein, says, would be great to see his head spin around. Good work. I'm off to New York. Chat later or tomorrow. So it's like, how much power did this guy have over people who were close to Trump? So many people loved Bannon. I liked Bannon. I thought he was awesome for a while, but damn. I mean, is this guy a double agent? I mean, he definitely isn't. I mean, we knew already that he wasn't really the best looking guy, but come on now. You know, what's up? You know, so all I'm saying is, what's going on, right? Actor Jim Caviezel says that the very next day after he mentioned adrenochrome, he was dropped by his agency and blacklisted in Hollywood. Then we go into the Epstein files and we see that they're talking about adrenochrome. So again, let's take a look at this.
It's not true. It's C9H9NO3. This is a...
Oh, YouTube, please don't ban me. This is important information that the world needs to know.
Chemical compound that is absolutely... This has been around in modern science since the 1930s. You can actually... There's a synthetic form and there's a regular natural form, which is caused by torturing little kids to get their
Yeah, and it gets graphic. It gets even more graphic.
from them.
So he talks about how they basically, yeah, I don't need to be describing any of this.
And so I brought this up a few years ago, and all of a sudden I was attacked by every media. Look it up. It's there. They absolutely went after me. And the next day, I never heard from my agency for 14 months. My lawyers let me go. My agency never called me after that, and essentially I was done.
That's just so crazy. Like, if you want to win in Hollywood, you want to like get ahead in Hollywood, and you got to like do all this kind of stuff. Look at this.
This one's in Thailand.
Been to Thailand before. Beautiful.
Again, what we're watching now is a TikTok that essentially is basically showing how the elites are really doing business when it comes to this trafficking stuff. It shows that these elitist older men at this mansion, it looks like, and they're basically talking about how they can traffic kids and how this really works. So take a listen or watch this.
Beautiful, beautiful.
What comes with the island?
There's a small villa there. You could practically build with
They're building things.
Yeah, there's
Do the islands come with the children, or the children?
This island does have a small school. There are children.
Okay, so I don't know if that.
You can find this exact TikTok at Catsmith06, or you can find this repost at the Red Pill Bot on X.
Yeah,
What countries are near to abduct them from?
Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam,
Philippines.
The Philippines.
Of course.
The Filipinos, if they're not being a nurse, they're being your servant. Okay, so
They're being your servant. If they're not being, listen to this again. They're talking about kids from basically the Philippines and all these different places surrounding, like Cambodia and all these places, and basically how they can turn that into a trafficking ring.
the Philippines.
Of course.
The Filipinos, if they're not being a nurse, they're being your servant.
If they're not being a nurse, they're being your servant. That's what was just said in this clip that I'm showing.
Okay, so
So true.
yeah, so
And they all agree.
below 10, I don't really.
Dude, we're dealing with some evil motherfuckers. Evil.
I will share this with you, Chuck.
I can't play this one. We've all seen that clip, though, of, I believe that's John Podesta. I'll let you guys go and search in that on Twitter X. You guys can find those videos. But again, these are all the archives that I wanted to make just because these are what the more damning and the bigger finds were recently in the files. So again, this was March 19th in 2015 at 17:28 hours. Please find attached a draft agenda for the meeting on preparing for pandemics as requested. Let's discuss next steps. For example, how to officially involve the WHO and ICRC. Co-branding. Best regards, and I hope we can pull this off. Again, that is to Jeffrey Epstein, and then the person that was from is redacted from these files. Subject is preparing for pandemics. Preparing for pandemics. I remember in college when I was called crazy. I was called crazy because I didn't wear a mask. I was called crazy because I didn't get the vaccine. Everybody in my police academy called me crazy. I was talking about all of this stuff. I was well aware of it. I was red-pilled years and years ago. I would say probably 2014, 2015. That's when I really got like red-pilled, and I pretty much knew what was going on. And so that's when I started figuring stuff out. It's when crypto and all of that happened. And so, you figure out what goes on. You figure out that these people were behind all of it. Epstein was behind Bitcoin, didn't you know? And that's why it's like, that's why a lot of people don't trust Bitcoin. They trust XRP maybe more. They trust Quant more. They trust, some of these currencies that are just kind of, more utility. There's just more you can do with them. Again, when they're connected to these people, it's like, look at what we're dealing with. Again, Peter John Dalgish, former UN chief and founder of UNICEF, was arrested on child rape charges in Nepal. 2 young children were rescued from his custody. Look at this. 2019, Peter John Dalgish, former United Nations chief and founder of UNICEF, was arrested on child rape charges in Nepal. During his arrest, 2 young children were rescued from his custody. Respected Respected humanitarian. He was awarded the Order of Canada for his work with disadvantaged children. And this was from Anonymous. If only you knew how bad things really are. And this was an anonymous post from 4chan. And then in this post right here, screenshot from The Sun, the article says, bombshell UN dossier, UN aid workers raped 60,000 people as its claimed organization employs 3,300 pedophiles. The dossier claims United Nations aid workers have raped 60,000 people and estimate the organization employs 3,300 pedophiles. Take a look at that. Wow. So what are we dealing with?
Look,
some
at the
bad
bushes
people.
In front of her house, they have grown
Let's
them
look at
to
this
a
video.
very tall height to avoid anyone seeing.
Let's take a look at this. Check this out. What do you guys think?
Herself.
Also, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. You need help growing your business, work with me, goldsharkmedia.com, brendanaggerrealty.com. I'll help you grow your business. Let's do it. Let's figure out your situation, whatever it is, and we'll help you scale. We'll help you grow. We'll help you grow a fortune. Not like Epstein. We'll do it the legal way, the lawful way. We'll do it the right way, right? Okay, let's get back to it.
Look at the bushes in front of her house. They have grown them to a very tall height to avoid anyone seeing the abuse that is happening in that house. As you look around the entire house, every single prominent window is covered by a tall tree. That is not for shade purposes. That is because Virginia Giuffre is being beat up. Take a look at the site of the crash. She claimed that caused these bruises, but that's not possible because everyone at the crash says that the crash was very minor. The police report said no major injuries, no significant injuries at all. So what exactly is causing her to get these bruises? Well, I can tell you it is the same person who just took her life. And the show that we're going to do on Monday, Untamed Nation, go subscribe right now on Rumble. Click the notifications at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Go check out Untamed Nation on Rumble and go watch his channel, see what they've been breaking down. They've been breaking down some very good stuff. As we look on, we continue to see that there's more Epstein files here. Again, anybody listening should go to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, subscribe, and watch some of these. Here's a clip of this guy was a former satanic church member. Pedophilia ringleader speaks out. They banned this documentary because it exposed too much of the pedophilia happening in our country. And it's true. It's happening not just in America, though. That's what I see. A lot of misconceptions. People still believe that this is not happening like everywhere. This is actually a global problem. And so it's actually existed since the beginning of time, since the era of Babylon. Right, Baal, right? We see the worship of Baal and all these things. This is all ancient. So again, now let's get an insight into what these people really believe in when we listen to these kind of videos. And again, this is a leader of these cults right here. These kind of men.
Pedophile ring.
Said we kill babies, we drink their blood, we eat them.
Found out that the police were looking
I can't even play some of this.
My name's Steve, and I'm a policeman.
I hope I don't get banned.
100+ involvement in this, including Kafkas, the police, social services, the school.
She's one of the 20 special children.
Because I know, because she comes and they do sex to her.
Okay.
Mostly.
Yeah, so you guys can go check out that video. That's actually on the UFO Hunter account. Or it's also been posted by Jake Shields. Just type in thousands of kids all over the world make the exact same claims. And then basically this little girl talks about exactly what really goes on in these organizations. And it's pretty evil stuff. See, I mean, maybe there's better parts I can find in here that aren't so graphic.
Hand movements, how
They can't look.
they were showing with their hand movements how I would get their hand.
Yeah, I can't even play some of this. This stuff is so evil, like you can't even play it without having to worry about getting banned. But onto the finance side of things on the same time, I also, again, all of this stuff connects and it does matter. Finance is so important because Jeffrey Epstein was a financier. And, you know, he worked at Bear Stearns. He worked at some pretty big organizations. He worked in Los Alamos. Okay? He worked in Santa Fe. And guess what? If you know anything, you understand that a lot of pretty big stuff happens there. We'll just call it that. You understand that a lot of government operations happen at these places. And when I say government operations, I'm talking, yes, clandestine. You know, CIA guys know that. The FBI guys know that when I talk about this. And, you know, the stuff that Epstein was working on, he was working on a lot of the similar things, not exactly the same kind of projects. It's all compartmentalized. But he was working on a lot of these different physics projects and things like that. And guess who else worked on this kind of stuff? Bob Lazar. If you know Bob Lazar, he was working on a lot of UFO stuff. So I'm not saying Epstein was working on UFOs. We're saying that Epstein was working on some different projects in the realms of science and physics, okay? And that's what we need to pay attention to. And with that being said, he was also working on anything with financial technology. And so that has to do with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's all over the files. Basically, how Epstein's talking about how Stellar Lumens and the company Ripple are basically disruptors to Bitcoin and their Bitcoin project. Basically, they were going to crash the whole thing, basically to enrich themselves. All a bunch of stuff that's all coming out today. And so this was kind of my take. This is from the Digital Asset Investor. He's got a really good account. He has some pretty good takes on finance, but let's take a look at some of these videos too. We got to study the crypto markets and finance too on my channel. I try to cover a little bit of everything in between while we're covering the Epstein files.
Scraping the top of the barrel is what they did. Well, actually, when I first was applying, Nicholas Nigger.
And again, if you don't know what we're listening to, if you're just listening, this is a video of the founder of the MIT Media Lab who conducted the search, which ended with the hiring of Joy Ito to head the lab, flying on Epstein's plane and having lunch at his home. One has to wonder if it was Epstein who worked out of Joy Ito getting that job.
Bondi, who was running the search.
Is Nick here? Somebody said they saw Nick.
Oh,
hey,
John,
Nick,
yeah.
oh no, John any Negroponte will do, but for those of you who don't know, John Negroponte is actually Nicholas Negroponte's brother, so it wasn't scraping the top of the barrel.
That's just one of the guys who was implicated in a lot of the Bitcoin Epstein files here, and kind of how it all connects. This is just a Wikipedia of who he is and kind of, you know, how these people really connect. You can kind of do more of the research on your own. But I found these to be interesting connections, particularly those being, you know, involved with finance, involved with a lot of quite shady operations, you know. And I get it. You know, we get it as entrepreneurs. We understand that business, you know, it gets a little weird. You got to be flexible on certain things. But at the same time, it's like, come on. This is just weird stuff. This is evil stuff. And so, again, thought this was crazy. Another 71 Epstein files with the word Trump deleted from the DOJ website, down from 5,361 to 4,727, 634 files gone. Doesn't look like there's any community note on this. Not alleging anything, just tracking for fun. So what do you guys think? Is that true? Is that false? Again, feel free to fact check all of the things I'm saying. I encourage any kind of debate. I encourage you guys to say something. Say what you guys think. You know, this is an open space to figure out, you know, what's going on. How do we solve this problem, right? Jeffrey, attached are the docs I sent you for the LLC that we intend to funnel your investments through. Please let me know if there are any issues with the structure and or details. I'm available for chat anytime. That's from Brock Pierce to Jeffrey Epstein on December 3rd, 2014 at 4:50 p.m. Again, Cryptocurrency Partners 2 LLC. This is the operating agreement PDF. Cryptocurrency Partners LLC subscription application PDF. So that's kind of what they were discussing. Brock Pierce was a co-founder and managing partner of Cryptocurrency Partners, also referred to as Cryptocurrency Partners LLC, which was established in 2013 and later rebranded as Blockchain Capital. According to company records in 2026 reports, his key partners in his venture include Bart Stevens, a co-founder who came from a background in financial technology and hedge fund management. Bradford Stevens, a co-founder with experience on Wall Street focused on internet security and cryptography. Matthew Rozak, a founding partner who is also the co-founder of Tally Capital. And Jill Penchina, who identified as a founder and a prominent angel investor associated with the firm. So a lot of interesting findings here. Meet the crypto entrepreneur who gave Richard Branson and Bill Clinton their first Bitcoins. This was written by Laura Shin, former contributor of the Forbes website, published February 7th, 2018. So a lot of weird things going on. What are we not being told? What are we not being told? Again, here's some more of the Epstein files. If you're listening, this is Channel 10. They're sitting down naked and eating kids while drinking adrenochrome-infused blood. I know this sounds crazy. We are literally just looking at tweets here. We're looking at screenshots of what are showing camera surveillance footage of Epstein's home. And looks to be about 16 cameras shown, the year 2013. And we see it does appear to be children sitting at a table. And then there does appear to be some very strange looking rooms that maybe we didn't see in the original videos exposing the Epstein files. This is Woody Allen and Jeffrey Epstein and their exchanged texts talking about eating human remains. It's hard for me to say it. Hopefully I don't get banned. Again, this is not stuff I believe in. I'm only doing this live stream because I think it's important for everybody to talk about. Again, this goes against, again, I could only be making business content here, but it's, this is more important. Sometimes some things are just more important. You didn't just, so again, here are some of the emails. Make sure we're reading these right. 7/10/2018, 1705, 41. Okay, so we got to start here at the top. Looks like my computer's a little glitchy. So according to this, he didn't just cause heartburn, he ate them. He didn't just cause heartburn, he ate them. Hearts, it says. I mean, like, they specify it. Because you also eat the bones, providing fiber. And again, I'm not laughing because this is funny at all. I'm laughing because this is just insane. These people are just so evil. The fact that these people are still out in the streets and not put in an electric chair is just crazy. I don't like waste, they say. These are very soulless human beings, it sounds like. But again, I'm not seeing anything about blackmail. Where's the blackmail? Again, this is also from the Epstein files. New documents continue to appear in the files. Again, we're not going to play this video because it shows a video of 2 young kids, and they're basically describing on video, they're crying, traumatized on how they were forced to, take the lives of other people. Okay, so that's what a lot of this video is showing. I can't really play it here. I can play parts of it.
I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to kill it.
Okay, so that was September 8th, 1989. And again, he really just, that's one kid. I'm talking about how he doesn't want to be forced to do, what he just said, to kill anymore.
We found out she had been defecated on. That it was smeared all over her body.
So this is, again...
All of those things and worse. They've talked about having to kill other children. How many...
And we're going to leave that at that. Again, you can find that tweet from the account is AAPAYES at AAPAYES. Apes, looks like. And you can find that account there. You can find those videos there. I can't go through all of these videos just because of the severity and, again, how graphic some of this stuff really is. But this is what we're seeing in the Epstein files. Again, 2 children we know for sure were strangled, died, and were buried during their sexual abuse. And these victims were killed. And we know that to be a fact according to these files. So again, all we know is what's obviously been released in the files. But again, we're seeing a lot of big accounts reposting what's been found in the files, different screenshots. And these are big accounts, and they're not getting community notes. They're not getting fact-checked at all, So everything that we're, really seeing is true. This is really happening. The conspiracy theorists were right all along. And ultimately, it's pretty crazy. We need to really find some kind of system where these people are held accountable. And again, this looks like it's a dead body in here. Okay, we're looking at a dead body on the screen if you're a listener. And it appears to be a dead body in a bag, and it's censored out. It's redacted. So my question is, what's going to happen when we actually what happens when we actually redact all of these files? What happens when we really do this? I'm serious. This kind of cruelty makes it hard to believe we're still talking about human beings. This is from the account Abier, ABIER, or you can the exact account. It's at ABIERKHATIB. Follow that account. She's been following a lot of the Epstein files, doing a good job of it. Again, I think we went through that file already. I tried to archive as many of these as I can because, again, Twitterettes to me is the best place to source this information because it gives you the whole gestalt and the overall community feels, right? 252,000 views on this video I'm about to show you of a video that was banned in 1980. Okay, so take a look at this.
Does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl.
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right.
I also want to be clear. we are not anti-Semites here. We're not saying that every Jew is evil, every Jew is bad. This is not the point of this video. Okay, we're documenting who Jeffrey Epstein was as a human being. We're trying to understand the psychographics of this man, why he made these decisions. We're trying to understand the psychology of this man. The relevancy of the videos I'm showing you is really describing the kind of individual that tends to, circulate around the highest levels of Jewish oligarchies, more specifically Orthodox Hasidic Jews. Okay, and so again, there are anti-Zionist Jews that exist. So when I play these videos, I want everybody to come at this from an approach of trying to understand this from a factual basis. Okay, there's good and evil in everybody, and we just so happen to be in a country right now that's being overthrown and occupied by a foreign country, which is the state of Israel. And again, you can say that it's blackmail, but to me, it looks like a lot of these politicians were willingly being a part of a lot of this from what I'm seeing. So what do you guys think?
Other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? You don't have to give us the gory details, but what kinds of things went on in the family?
Well, there would be rituals in which babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to,
Whose babies?
There were people who bred babies.
Apologies if any of this is graphic, of course. Again, we just have to keep saying that. A lot of this stuff is really sensitive. I'm just going to keep repeating that for those who are still listening. I know it gets annoying, but it's so important. Again, I got to just keep reminding the algorithm that this is for research purposes, educational purposes. This is not for any kind of racial purposes. This is for understanding who Jeffrey Epstein was, what's in those files, the people who were implicated in the files, and kind of, the clique of this organization that appears to be
in our
the
family.
U.S.
No one would know about it. A lot of people were overweight, so you couldn't tell if they were pregnant or not, or they would supposedly go away for a while and then come back.
So you witnessed the sacrifice?
Right. When I was very young, I was forced to participate in that, in which I had to sacrifice an infant.
And the purpose of sacrifice is to what? Is to bring you what? What are you sacrificing for?
For power.
For power, she said. Okay, so the reason I played that video isn't to target any specific group racially. The reason I specifically targeted that video, the reason I wanted to show you that video is because it connects, what we're seeing here. The behaviors of Satanism, Luciferianism, and what this religion appears to be doing. What's going on with it all connects to the Epstein files and what's being done in the Epstein files. So I'm just trying to connect the dots, trying to understand, trying to help you understand. And so leave comments on what you think. Ultimately, we're trying to figure this out together. Okay, more of the Epstein files. Here's just another image. It shows Epstein giving the duck face, sitting next to Ghislaine. He's leaning his head up against Ghislaine as she's smiling towards the camera. And then in this video, this kind of, again, feel free to pause, watch the YouTube episode back again. You can pause this at any time, read through these Epstein files a little bit more thoroughly. Again, these give you a little bit more detail. I can't read into these because, again, it's just so graphic. I think that's why most people aren't covering specifically the files, because the files specifically are extremely damning. And they're not just damning. A lot of this stuff is really evil, like bad. Like you can't even say it. You can't say it as a live streamer without, worrying about your entire channel getting banned or, God knows what. But I'm just, again, anybody who's listening to me talking right now, you're not watching the stream. You should watch this stream. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, of course, do all that. But really take a look at some of the videos that I'm, screen recording here as I'm watching some of these. It's talking about September 3rd in 2019, how a lot of these different, organizations kind of work together. John, Luke, Brunel, all these different people, the predators who set 12-year-old triplets as a birthday present, according to the released documents. So it tells about all of this. So go in, do a deep dive. Again, this is from Sarah Fields, another good account. She tagged Representative Nancy Mace. We have some if you want the ones we pulled via our scraping project. So again, these are all people trying to investigate what's in the Epstein files. We're watching now a video of Epstein's desk. There's no sound to it. It's black and white static footage. And it shows an empty office desk. Now it seems like we have somewhat of maybe some kind of yard guy or something, some kind of manager guy. somebody who works for Epstein, and see a female in here walking around at the same time. Now she's sitting on the desk. Looks like Epstein's got his feet up on the desk. And seems to be the only thing of what they're showing in this first video. Second video here shows her again. She's leaning up against the desk. Might be the same video. I'm not sure. I think these are different files. So again, all of these, if you're watching the videos, it shows EFTA 00280, and then all the different files that basically break down the entire frames and really what you're going to see in that entire video. Again, this girl is basically sitting right next to his desk. We don't know who this was. What we do know is that we found the JP Morgan Chase executive, the chief executive, James Staley. Look at this photo. So if you look at this photo, what do you guys think? But this is like crazy similar. This guy I think this is our guy. I think this is the same guy. This is the chief executive of JP Morgan Chase. So, wow. James Staley. Sure looks like him. What's that story? You know, I can't stress it enough. You need to be careful about who you're hanging out with. It's like it goes without saying, like, this is what can happen if you want to be an idiot. You want to be powerful and an idiot at the same time. You want to be a weird pedo creeper, then this is the life you're going to get. You know, this is what's going to be the result. And I think these people need to be exposed. They need to be charged. Ultimately, James Fishback, hey. So I wanted to give a shout out to James Fishback. I think he's great. He's running for Florida governor right now, and I think he's a great option for the state of Florida. If you're listening from Florida, James Fishback is the guy. But again, Matrix Bot, again, he's been covering this a lot. But it just goes without saying how evil all of this is. These are so evil. Again, if you're watching this, you can see some of the subtitles that are playing on these videos. And, you know, it goes with, these people are just completely evil. Again, a lot of transgenderism, a lot of Goyim talk, anti-Goyim and things like that. Jake Shields has been covering the incident. The Zorro Ranch owner, Don Huffins, has a biotech company that uses cardiac cells from baby hearts under 30 days old for tissue cell sourcing. And this is a big story that's been circulating across X. This is from the company Sacratome Therapeutics. So we're going to watch this video. University of Maryland, Baltimore startup Sacratome Therapeutics, formerly Neoprogen, is developing a novel cell-based therapy for people who experience a heart attack and patients with advanced heart failure. The company's technology is developed from neonatal cardiac progenitor cells, NCPCs, derived from tissue discarded during life-saving heart surgery in babies with congenital heart conditions. UMB's leading pediatric cardiac surgeon, Sanjay Kaushal, MD and PhD, and his lab have published groundbreaking work in preclinical studies that show NCPCs appear to be superior to other cell therapies being pursued by completing academic and commercial groups for functional markers of cardiovascular disease. That's from the Sacratome Therapeutics website. Crazy. We're thrilled to support Sacratome Therapeutics in its mission to revolutionize regenerative medicine. Don Huffins, CEO of Hest Investments, said in a statement, "At Hest, our philosophy is to see beyond the obvious and to invest in ventures that have the potential to make transformative impact for humanity. This investment in Sacratome aligns perfectly with our vision of driving innovation and changing the perspective of how we advance human health." Done. Dude, yeah, this guy's done. Like, all these people are done. Kurt Cobain, there's just so many things we could go through. Like, this doesn't stop. It doesn't end. So as we keep going here, we can go through Pam Bondi and what she had to say about Bill Clinton. We'll listen to this real quick. Why not?
Couple times, multiple times, he traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar.
Yeah, but Trump just said they're friends. That's the thing. Trump is saying that they're friends. They're friends, apparently. Like, come on. The gaslighting. Like, why don't you just lie? Why don't you just tell the truth, Pam? Why don't you just tell the truth? Why don't you just tell the American people the truth?
Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior. So that's the difference there. And I think Americans see the two-tier justice system. But, you know, we don't know. They're saying Clinton has not been to his private island, but he has traveled all over the world with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know why A.G. Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. You know, they're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead. And Ghislaine.
Oh yeah, $238 billion. Yeah, it was. What's funny is in college, it's not funny. When I'm saying like it's crazy. When I say it's funny or when I laugh, I'm being facetious. Like wow, like I'm amazed. I'm insanely impressed by the level of evil. You know, because when I was in college as a senior, I had to write a senior capstone project on the child human sex trafficking industry. I actually chose to write about it because it was a huge issue. And I'd watched the movie Eyes Wide Shut back then, and I felt like nobody had watched it. But I thought it was a great film because it was exposing everything about, you know, what's really happening. And I was able to understand the film. I was like, oh yeah, wow. This is like, if to somebody who's blind, they're not going to understand what the movie Eyes Wide Shut is all about. And then as I'm watching, you know, what we're seeing today, it's like, oh, I see. It's like the people who were awake, look at what we see now.
Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos.
So Pam Bondi's definitely going for the narrative that, you know, this is the Democrats. And it's like, listen, this was the Democrats and the Republicans. I'm going to reiterate again how serious it is that these people it does not seem to me that these people were actually blackmailed. I've seen 2 emails so far that suggested that there could have been blackmail going on. To me, this was like, these were people who wanted to be involved. Howard Lutnick and his wife. Again, we covered this in my last live stream that I did. Go back and watch it. I cover the Howard Lutnick, and I go through his entire testimony on how him and his wife and his kids had visited Epstein. But Howard Lutnick said that didn't happen. They said, oh yeah, I went to Epstein's Island 6 steps away from my house, and he was gross. He was gross. Just gross. And he did his Howard Lutnick thing. And, you know, when you look at this, it's like, man, the ease of which these people lie. They need to be held accountable. We need to have an investigation into everybody. Everybody who's in the Epstein files. We need clear investigations. We need to bring up all the court documents, the old court documents. That should tell you everything you need to know. You know, we need to find the victims and the survivors. We need to hear from them. You know, ultimately, we need to hear from the survivors. And it's like maybe they're waiting for the midterms for that. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether you like her or not, I think I've always been a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Again, she's got her problems, but I think she's speaking for the truth. I think she's America first. You know, that's just been my take on it. But these are just some of the files you can look through. Again, if you're listening and not watching, I'm going through different screenshots on Twitter X. Again, the reason I like Twitter X is just because I think it's the best way to source fact checking, to really find the most accurate information, conversations that are really swirling, and, you know, you're able to, again, it just has a way better community fact checking system. Well, things are going well, but no, Jeffrey, when am I going to see you? Give me a call tomorrow if you're bored at home. Happy Hanukkah. P.S. You missed the big event on Saturday, a party with a dozen beautiful East Side girls. Well, a dozen 1-year-olds, explanation mark. Again, this is an email from John Brockman to Jeffrey Epstein on November 28th, 2013. So again, hopefully you guys have been taking note of all of these names we've been going over in these files. Again. So I wanted to go through this video. They pulled the babies/kids' teeth out so they wouldn't bite. Epstein's girlfriend was a dentist. This was in a TikTok that was posted by Crim VSP. I'm just reading the on-screen text in the video. And it's showing the weird dental office with all the masks, if you guys have been paying attention to that, all the masks that were found on Epstein's island. Oh, maybe it's just not going to play. It's okay. That's okay. We can go on. It's not hurting to not play some of this stuff. I don't even know if anybody's listening to this live stream. Is anybody even here? Probably not. If you guys are, then definitely subscribe. Please help me out. Hopefully, you guys are really ready for the future, because all I know is, what are we going to do with these people? What are we going to do? Again, I was going to go through the Epstein files on the actual DOJ website. Maybe I'll do that another day. I really wanted to cover what the conversations were on X, though, because, you know, when we're following what's happening on X, we're getting the full story. So again, here's a 9/11 video clip I wanted to play. Again, the reason this connects to Epstein is because Epstein was all about essentially, basically talking about 9/11, and he wanted to know who their actual pilot was. You believe that? He wanted to know who the real pilot was of this of 9/11, and this was asked like a week later or something like that. So here's the video that's been circulating. This video has been banned. A lot of you have probably already seen it.
There's an explosion. He's in the lobby.
Two firefighters saying this was an explosion. They're describing the 9/11 event right after it happened. It shows one firefighter. He's like full of blood. The other, we see another firefighter. He looks like an African American, and they're telling you that the buildings, the 9/11 buildings, were exploded. They exploded. There was bombs in them.
The third explosion, the whole lobby collapsed on us.
What was it like?
Horrible. The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Was that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the
Yeah, definitely secondary explosion. But we was inside waiting to go upstairs, and on the way upstairs, the whole fucking thing blew. And we just collapsed on everybody inside the lobby.
So much of the first tower coming down, secondary.
I don't know about the first one, but I know the second one was terrible. Then there was a third one too after that one.
Talking about World Trade Center Building 7. Ask Larry Silverstein about that.
Everybody was inside the building, waiting to go upstairs, and they just let loose. Everything just let loose inside the building.
So what you told me is that there was a plane or whatever hit the building, and then a secondary explosion.
There was like 3 explosions after that. We came in after the fire. We came when the fire was going on already. We was in the staging area inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. The whole lobby collapsed on the lobby inside.
Just AM after that?
Just man, everybody trying to work their way out.
Trying to help all the brothers get out.
A lot of people trapped inside.
I was sitting in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. We watched the first explosion. As we watched the building, so a black, very large airplane fly right into the second building. Came at it.
Very large airplane that flew into the second building, he just said. This is another firefighter.
Right in front of our eyes.
Right in front of our eyes, he says.
It was so surreal, like a movie set. Second, third explosion.
3,000 Americans died for a lie. Just remember that. Let that sink in.
We were in the building for the third one, and it collapsed. It was on this drive here for the other one.
People don't understand. There may be more. Any one of these fucking buildings could blow up. This ain't done yet.
It was a controlled demolition, absolutely, in my opinion. Again, the reason this connects to the Epstein files is because this was mentioned in the Epstein files. And again, I'm curious to see if, Nick Fuentes will talk about all of that. I think he will. Nick Fuentes is great. He's been covering a lot of this and sticking to the facts. Again, this was interesting. I archived this little find from this. You can find this from the Twitter X account, Not a Number. Great account. And essentially, this was Jamie Lee Curtis, her home. She documented a photo of, well, it's not a photo. I think this is a painting. It's a professional painting. Well, professional, right? It's a painting that was made, and Jamie Lee Curtis posted this on her Instagram, I believe. Let's look at the facts of this. What does Grok say about this one? Just to make sure that this is real. So, by the way, this is how you fact check on Twitter ads if people are watching. Okay, good. You people are still seeing that. Good. So this is what I like to do to verify facts. Again, the Ets post recirculated on January 2023. Instagram controversy involving Jamie Lee Curtis, who shared a photo of her home office displayed a frame artwork by photographer Betsy Schneider titled From Bath Time series, depicting Schneider's own infant playing innocently in a plastic tub. Curtis deleted the post after online backlash accusing the image of being exploitative, later clarifying as a celebration of childhood vulnerability with nothing more, nothing less, while Schneider defended it as a personal family portrait, emphasizing maternal bonds. That is, how many of you guys have portraits in your house that look like that of you? I don't have any portraits that look like that of me. Replies on the thread speculate on sinister motives tied to Curtis's transgender child or conspiracy theories, reflecting broader anti-woke sentiments in the poster's audience, though no evidence supports these claims beyond artistic interpretation debates. And, Grok's always going to give you that little bit of fluffy answer at the bottom, the anti-Semitic trope kind of responses, right? But essentially, now we know. I like to really use Grok for those purposes. Again, this is Jamie Lee Curtis who owns this photo, and in the photo you see a painting of what looks like again, I'm sorry for people watching or listening, but this is a graphic photo of a naked child, basically what looks like they're in some kind of suitcase or something, maybe? I don't know. So evil. So crazy. Okay, and then tying back into the Bitcoin narrative of Epstein's files and what's been released, this is Michael Saylor essentially claiming that Bitcoin is going to go to 500,000. Well, he didn't claim it in this video, but what do you guys think about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a scam? Is it real? Is it fake? I think, honestly, it's going to end up being something better. It's going to be something with more utility, and I don't know how Michael Saylor is going to be taking out these loans for so much longer. You guys tell me.
But yeah, because once you get Bitcoin and it clicks in your mind, your immediate reaction is, oh, I got to hurry and buy as much as I can because someone else is going to go take all my Bitcoin away from me. So like in 2020, when I started buying Bitcoin, I was thinking, oh no, I got to do this in a hurry because someone's going to figure it out and the prices.
By the way, I'm an investor. I'm an early investor in Bitcoin. Okay, I own Bitcoin. I don't own like a whole Bitcoin. I wasn't that early. But I own a lot of Bitcoin, and I invested in 2016, 2017, and I've been holding it for a while, and I can tell you there are better coins out there than Bitcoin. That's what I'm just saying as an investor myself. I believe in Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will hit 250,000, maybe 500,000, just on my analysis, what I've been looking at. What do you guys think? But ultimately, I think there is better stuff. Bitcoin, it's slow, it's outdated. Again, XRP, for example, it's just one of the coins that is better. It has more utility. 1,500 transactions per second. Anyways, I don't want to get too off on a tangent, off basis here.
10x, and I better get it before it 10x's. So, that's a natural reaction when it finally clicks in your head, because you're thinking, why?
He looks nervous. Every time I see Saylor, maybe that's just who Saylor is, but, one, he's lost a lot of money before. Okay, that's my issue with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. I love Michael Saylor. I love his entrepreneurial spirit. I think he's a maverick in many ways, but at the same time, I think he jumped into backing Bitcoin when we didn't know who the CEO was. And guess what? CEO was Epstein, baby. Epstein wasn't the CEO, right? There was no CEO, but same group of people.
Wouldn't every billionaire in the world go and buy $1 billion of Bitcoin, smash buy it overnight, and just to make $1 billion? Because why wouldn't they just want to make the $1 billion? Or 5 billion or 10 billion or any amount of money. Bitcoin, it feels like in the early days, the infinite money glitch, right?
I love Bitcoin, but I'm just saying there's better stuff going on. That's just kind of my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I love Bitcoin. I think it'll go high. I think everybody should own a little bit of it, but just, not financial advice. Invest smart. Obviously buy the dip. That's what all the rich people are buying up the dip while you're selling, right? Never forget that. While you're selling, while you're in fear, while you're selling your last bit of crypto to pay the bills, dude, these people are getting massively rich. The people who are patient will win. Enjoy the wave of wealth by being patient. That's my advice. As an entrepreneur, as an investor who's been somewhat successful, dude, just wait. It happens overnight. It happens overnight. Okay. So let's go on. Let's look at some other videos that I wanted to store up here. This was Nick Sortor. I need to go into that. Nick Sortor and a lot of these journalists have been getting called out because they've been running with the same script here pretty much. Okay, but again, I found this kind of weird with Michael Saylor. This is, again, this all has to do with Epstein because, you know, the same group that has been promoting Bitcoin for many years, you know, it's like, well, what does Bitcoin do? It's like a store of it. It's a store of value. It's a store of gold. But like when Michael Saylor gives these kind of responses, it doesn't make me feel good about the future of crypto. And I'm pro crypto, but what do you guys think about this clip of Michael Saylor? This is an old clip. This is from like October, I believe. It is older. It's not recent, but I still wanted to play it because it's still relevant.
Hey, Mr. Saylor, huge fan of everything you've done. Does Strategy have any plans to publish their on-chain proof of reserves?
Yeah, proof of reserve is an interesting thing. Let me make the following point. A lot of people learn stuff from FTX and now GOTS, but I'm not sure they learned the things that the institutional community needs to learn going forward. The current conventional way to publish proof of reserve.
He just never has an answer. Like, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent about Bitcoin here, but it's like Michael Saylor. It's like, I'm going to play one more clip of Saylor after this, and then we'll go back into, we'll see what's going on with anything new on the Epstein files after this. But like, what do you guys think about this clip? Like, this does not make me feel good about crypto in general. And crypto is so important, guys. Like, if you care about getting Greenland, you care about having Venezuela, you care about having a thriving American economy, we need to have Bitcoin. We need to have XRP. But these kind of investors and these kind of statements is never going to help this. It's never going to help the movement, right?
FTX and now GOTS, but I'm not sure they learned the things that the institutional community needs to learn going forward. The current conventional way to publish proof of reserves is an insecure proof of reserves. It actually dilutes the security of the issuer, the custodians, the exchanges, and the investors. It's not a good idea. It's a bad idea.
That's what you call a bullshit answer. If anybody's like been investing for a long time, like that's a bullshit answer.
It's like publishing the address and the bank accounts of all your kids and your phone numbers of all your kids, and then thinking somehow that makes your family better. It doesn't make your family better. So no institutional grade or enterprise security analyst would think it's a good idea to publish all of the wallet addresses such that you can be.
I can agree with that.
Back and forth, and every future transaction can be traced. I would say go to AI, put it.
I mean, like this really all has to do with the conversation of decentralization, right? Like, is Bitcoin a real decentralized currency? No, it's not. It's not decentralized. I mean, John McAfee was trying to warn everybody for years about that. And I'm not saying McAfee was right or if he was this genius, but the guy was right about that. I mean, like, the NSA owns Bitcoin. The CIA owns it. The Israeli Mossad. Like, that's who runs it. You know, how do you think they were making the money for the trafficking? How do you think they were sending that money across borders? That's how. Okay, and so until we have banking laws, the Clarity Act, and these things, the Genius Act, but like well written, and the legislation makes sense, until these things happen, we're just not going to have, you know, that kind of market that we want. And this is my issue with Saylor. It's like, you need to be transparent, brother. You know, you need to be transparent with your investors, with the people who believe. Look at these young investors. These are all like the youngest people in America. These are not boomers. So it's like, we need to make sure that, you know, we're not misleading the next generation of investors.
Think mode and then ask it, what are the security problems of publishing your wallet addresses and how might they undermine the security of the company over time? It'll write you a book. It'll be 50 pages of security problems. So the problem with proof of reserves, the way that people do it right now, is it's first of all, it's a proof of assets that is insecure, and it is not a proof of liabilities. And so if you really want crypto security,
if you really want crypto security, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
if Bitcoin falls 90% for the next 4 years, we'll refinance the debt.
This was his most recent statement. This was Saylor's most recent statement. And then we'll get back into the Epstein files. Last thing on Bitcoin, but this was an important thing to play because this has been Michael Saylor's most recent statement now.
If Bitcoin falls 90% for the next 4 years, we'll refinance the debt.
Refinance where, Michael?
Seriously.
We'll just roll it forward. I mean, again.
But you think banks would lend to you at that point?
Yeah, because the volatility of Bitcoin is such that it's always going to be value. Look, you're at 68,000 right now. Literally has to fall to 8,000. Then we just refinance the debt. If you think it's going to zero, then we'll deal with that. But I don't think it's going to zero, and I don't think it's going to 8,000 either. But the credit.
Whoa, 8,000. I don't think it's going to 8. Like, I love how he casually just drops. Well, I don't think it's going to 8,000. It's like, well, it's going to go to 18,000. Is it going to go to 28,000? Is it going to go to 38,000? Like, how low are we going here? You know? No, ultimately, I think this is all market manipulation. Like, again, I'm pro Bitcoin to make that very clear, but you know, it's just like, come on, man. Come on. You know, we gotta consider, you know what I'm saying? Lost $6 billion in one day. You know, I'm just saying. Like, I love innovators. I'm all about that shit, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like, come on. Okay, so before we wrap up this entire live stream, again, how many people were listening here? Wow, 25 listeners. That's not bad. So before we wrap it up, let's hop in on the home algorithm one last time. Let's see if there's anything new about. Yeah, of course there is. This is why I love Twitter X. This is the future, guys. Twitter X is going to eat Google. It's going to eat Google. That's my prediction. And I love X. I think it's the closest thing we have to free speech. But anyways, New Mexico passes Epstein Truth Committee law to investigate Zorro Ranch. A bill has passed that will have committee of New Mexico politicians to investigate what happened at Epstein's Zorro Ranch. The ranch has never been searched despite trafficking. When is the search? And this post shows an image of Jeffrey Epstein. And who is this guy? It's Crockett. Let's figure out who this dude is. This was only posted an hour ago. So New Mexico's House unanimously passed House Memorial 33 on February 16, 2026, creating a bipartisan Epstein Truth Commission subcommittee of our lawmakers to probe Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch activities, including potential subpoenas and witness testimonies. The 10,000-acre Zorro's Ranch near Santa Fe, owned by Epstein since 1993, has false trafficking allegations but remained unsearched by authorities, marking this as the state's first formal investigation into site-specific claims. Video footage in the post depicts the ranch's arid landscape with two unidentified men, underscoring its remote isolation and the long-delayed scrutiny of Epstein. So I guess we don't know who this guy is in the picture. We'll learn eventually. I see that happening. So again, I'm just literally scrolling through what's being shown to me in the Ets algorithm. Okay, so it looks like I've been seeing this dude pop up. Shout out to Vincent Scott.
It's not even passed. And like I said from the start, it's all about the laws going live. For then all this value to use the text to transmit money.
This kid is onto something, and he's really smart. You know, honestly, like everything he's saying is right.
And that's what drives the value to the text. And Ripple is just a company.
This kid also reminds me of Tucker Carlson. I actually really like this dude. I see a future with this guy. We need to put him in like a financial position somewhere. Like this guy needs a future. Like everybody should follow him, Vincent Scott. Go follow his account. He has some really good analysis, good journalism. He's starting to do some cool stuff. The guy can play guitar too. So huge shout out to this dude.
That does all the acquisitions, all the licenses, all that stuff, waiting for the day it all goes live. So don't despair, man. Don't despair. You know, I'm down here. I got sent down here to help onboard people. And to these new people, like they're older and whatnot, it's like these prices are a gift to them. Don't let your desperation to escape this scammy system that we're all crushed by make you forsake your fellow man.
Yeah.
Your people, your country.
I think that's a great message.
Whoever they are. Instead, help do the work. Go check out that space I ran today.
Check it out.
Afterwards,
I'll go check it out.
We're all there talking. Here's how to do the Coinbase. That's Salmon. All that good stuff. Just so people have a shot. Because this thing's coming down, man.
Yep.
We posted something, you know.
I hope everybody's ready. I hope all you guys are diversified. I hope you guys are taking care of your families. Hope you guys got food stored up, guns, gold, all that stuff. You got to have it all.
2.8.
And then, of course, XRP, of course, XLM, of course, Bitcoin, of course, Ethereum. You got to have it all. ladies and gentlemen. Diversification. You want to live like Ray Dalio, Elon Musk, in regards to wealth and success, you need to diversify and position yourself for it.
$1 trillion a year, more in the deficit, the debt. It's hyperinflationary. They are boiling us out of the Federal Reserve note and into these different units. And BRICS' unit, backing by gold, well, that's just a shot across the bow for it all these other issuers. But that's how we break the scam in the first place, because we cannot go on like this. Endless debts, and we're all chained to the Fed note.
Yeah. Need new currencies, new alternatives.
We all deserve that slice of peace at the end of this tunnel.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, I've won in crypto. I've won in a lot of different industries and business. I'm doing well, but I think everybody deserves to do well, right? Everybody deserves a shot. So again, just going through the Twitter algorithm here on what's new. It seems like it's pretty much the same stuff here. A lot of things on Zorro Ranch. It appears that Zorro Ranch is the newest buzz as we're wrapping up this live stream. We're coming up on 10 o'clock almost. 10 o'clock. So we'll probably wrap it up here shortly. But we also have Thomas Massie. So we'll watch this 3-minute clip. Breaking Israel is blocking the Epstein files. This is important. So this is new. This was posted just 2 hours ago. Thomas Massie just exposed Israel, who Epstein was working for. Israel is influencing the Epstein files release. Israeli intelligence and our own CIA was wrapped up with Epstein. The Epstein class must be removed.
It would be embarrassing.
I definitely want to listen to this. Let's take a look.
Do you believe Netanyahu's involvement with Trump is influencing the decision of the Epstein file release?
I think Israel is influencing the Epstein file release because Israeli intelligence and our own CIA was wrapped up with Epstein. And so it would be embarrassing to our own intelligence agencies as well as Israel's intelligence agencies for all that to come out.
Sure.
And if you notice, there are a lot of bots online and people who are paid. Maybe they're not robots, but they are paid, and they're going after Marjorie and I uniquely. And I think it's because we...
Drop a comment if you are here, and what do you think about Thomas Massie? What do you think about Thomas Massie? What do you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene? That's my opinions. What do you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene? I think she deserves a lot more credit than what she's been given. I know she stabbed Trump in the back. Everybody loves to say that, but it's like, dude, Trump stabbed us in the back. It's like, listen, I'm for the truth. And I like what Thomas Massie is saying here. I like what he's doing here. I like people who take action on what's right. What makes America the greatest country is when we stand up for what's right. For our independence, for our dignity, for the truth. That's most important. Because if we're corrupted by money alone, then how different are we than every other third world country? We're not any different than Somalia at that case. That's why the UK looks like Somalia. Why does it look like Somalia now? Because our leaders act the same way. Because they're corrupt the same way. They'll take money the same way. For nothing. For nothing. For an ivory mansion. For a piece of real estate they're not even going to own. That'll be owned by some corporation, some LLC. It's all a facade. When you're offered free money, when you're offered all this status, ask yourself what you're going to be having to give up for that power. And it's so important. Thomas Massie, these individuals, to me, these are brave human beings. These are the people who remind me of our founding fathers. Because our founding fathers, they had their problems. They weren't perfect. They were Freemasons, some people say. Some people say, yeah, well, some of them were Jewish, whatever. They were innovators. And ultimately, they did what was right. You could say, well, they stole land. It's like, no, they didn't steal land. They conquered land. First of all, they were explorers. They created the entire government that we see here in this land of America. There was no government or civilization here before our ancestors came here. So anyways, Thomas Massie, let's listen to the rest of this.
Are against the war that Israel has in Gaza right now. And we want that to end. And we don't vote for foreign aid. And we don't vote for military aid for these other countries that are at war, and we get in trouble for that.
Do you think Epstein's still alive?
No.
And do you think he was a Mossad agent?
Let's talk about agent. I think he helped Mossad.
Was he collecting blackmail on our politicians, and that's why no one wants these released?
Look at that response by Tommy Massie. Listen, let's really study the body language. He didn't just deny that. He just went, well, you know, like this reminds me of Tim Dillon. We're going to go back to, all right, we'll watch the rest of this and we're going to go to that Tim Dillon clip where he talks exactly about how these politicians react when they're asked about this business and how it actually works, and how the real response that you're going to get if you're asked, like, hey, what's going on with these Epstein files? And the average person just sips their coffee and they just, well, so we're going to go watch that entire Tim Dillon clip after this, because honestly, but let's just finish this up. I keep talking and interrupting.
I don't know if it was blackmail, but like, let's say you were a drug user and you bought drugs from a drug dealer. The drug dealer doesn't blackmail you. The drug dealer has what you want, and then you start doing things for the drug dealer. I think
Smart
Epstein
guy
was a sex trafficker, and so
He supplied the women.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he was blackmailing his clients, but he was definitely getting favors from them by finding them women and offering women to them. So I'm not sure. And then obviously once you...
Yeah, even Thomas Massie can't definitively say like, oh yeah, this is a blackmailing operation. He can't just say that, because these people were willingly doing it. They were willingly in on it. And again, not just the United States government. This was world leaders, the most powerful people on earth, essentially. The reason that the stock market is at $50,000, or the Dow Jones is at $50,000, Pam Bondi.
Done enough of that. There is a lot of blackmail material.
You don't think there's like hidden tapes anywhere buried in the ground in a bunker somewhere?
Yeah, I think there probably are tapes like that.
Are they getting erased by the people?
I don't know. I don't know that the. Well, Pam Bondi said there were a lot of tapes.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of misinformation and conflicting information out there. So how do you expect the American people to believe any of it?
I believe about 1% of it myself. I literally don't trust anybody up here except Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace most recently, because those were the three women that co-sponsored.
What about Ro Khanna?
I'm talking about on the Republican side.
Okay.
I do trust some Democrats like Ro Khanna.
People are saying that you're acting like a Dem, a dirty Dem. You're a dirty Dem, Thomas.
Well, this was,
What do you guys think? Is Thomas Massie acting like a Democrat, or is he just standing for the truth? I think he's just standing for the truth. Okay, like it's pretty obvious.
What's interesting about Epstein is the president said it was a hoax, but now he's going to investigate the hoax, right? When he announced all these investigations. And then he also encouraged everybody to vote for it. So at first,
why is he so mad at reporters, too, that are asking about the files?
Fake news. You're fake news.
Is it fake news?
No, it's not fake news.
So yeah, that was the clip of Thomas Massie basically describing what's really going on. And when he's asked, hey, are these people, is there a blackmailing operation going on?
Do you believe?
And he said he couldn't even say yes, because it looks like all these people wanted to be a part of it. So now let's go to the Tim Dillon clip where he basically describes how these conversations go. Make sure screen's still recording. Good. All right. Yeah, this is it. Is this it? I think this is.
You're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
We'll watch a few clips.
S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming.
That's right.
That's what we
Who
should
cares
be
if we
talking
kidnap
about.
their children? What does it matter? Who cares if we kidnap their... The Dow is up.
Seriously, though, man.
The Dow's up. Who cares if we snatched your kids and took them to an island to abuse them? The Dow is up. So what? So what? We're part of an ancient blood cult. The Dow is up. So what? We perform sacrifices to deities so that we can have their power. The Dow is up.
I love Tim Dillon, man.
NASDAQ's doing?
What do you guys think of Tim Dillon? I love Tim Dillon.
The blue chips, the S&P 500. Why don't you shut your mouth about the kids that we abducted and
This dude's like the modern day Chris Farley, except a little bit higher IQ.
sacrificed so we can please Lucifer or Baal. So what? The Dow is up, so what? We worship Baal. Maybe you should thank Baal for the Dow being up 50,000. You're a pretty good stock trader, Raskin. From what I hear, maybe instead of angering Baal, you thank Baal. Thank Baal for what he's done for American 401ks.
So true. So true.
Baal has done more for the S&P 500 than Joe Biden did.
He is like a satirical genius. Tim Dillon is like the satirical
Joe
genius.
Biden didn't do anything for the S&P 500. We had to go to Moloch and Baal.
Okay. Where's the clip I was actually looking for, though? Like the coffee clip where he's talking about like how these conversations go.
And I just want to let people know that I've never been anti-connection.
I don't think that's it. Where's the clip?
Donald Trump. If Bill...
No, that's not it. I'm looking for the clip where Tim Dillon was basically talking about how these conversations go. I don't know, Tim Dillon coffee or something. Maybe this will work. No. It's going to give me ads. See, they always take out like the best stuff. Tim Dillon... I don't know. We'll keep looking. I want to find this clip though. I want to find it. We saw the Dow clip. That's interesting. You can't find that clip. It's one of the best clips in his last episode. I would go to a different screen right now, but I might be able to find it.
You look.
Anyways, it's whatever. If I can't find it, I can't find it. This is so annoying. So close. It's okay. Whatever. Anyways, so with that being said, what do you guys think about the Epstein files? What else should we look into? What other files are worth digging into for the Epstein files? What should we be investigating? What do you think is the right response for the people who have been at the forefront of all of this? For Donald Trump, all the people who are implicated, right? What do you guys think? So thank you for listening. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. You need help growing your business, let me know. DM me, goldsharkmedia.com, or you can visit brendaneckerrealty.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next.